Hello, and if you're just joining us, we are still setting up for the headstone dedication of Captain John Marshall Hoyt, who was a Civil War veteran from the 7th Wisconsin, the Iron Brigade. As you can see, we have some members of the Washington State Honor Guard who are going to be performing some ceremonies. So stand by, enjoy. It should start here in the next 10 or so minutes.
We'll essentially create a box.
So we both walk up in unison. Both elements are walking up in unison, sir.
Okay. Oh, there we go. No.
They're both separate.
So what's not the set? Let me get it.
You are you and John. You can give the faces
I should watch this though.
Yeah, walk up single file.
Yeah, just to make sure it's still
left
going.
face.
Yeah, doesn't fall over.
Because otherwise you come out like that. Yes, sir.
So if any of you guys want, we have little souvenir cards we printed for the ceremony today. Feel free to take these with me here. Or
Thank you.
give you
I'm only going to take one.
Can I get one? I found the live feed.
Oh, good.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to leave those up by the? You can. No, maybe just to the downhill side. I don't think they'll get kicked over there. Oh, yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Boy.
Richard's wife? I'm Frank. Nice to meet you. Oh, you've never met? No, we've never met. I'll work on some stories with it. Let's see. Anybody else need to? Here, we've got a whole pile of them. So.
Let's start from right here.
So, Richard, what's the plan for where would we be compared to where they're coming in? This is Captain Hunt's grave. That's the
And then give each other like maybe
I'm going to want one of you to put your there.
and then like maybe
Facing this direction.
walking off. Actually face this way. Step falling behind you, something like that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's an audio cord there behind us.
So we try and keep it
I'm going to try not to block the cameras. You? Well, you'll do both. So when they come up, for the most part, at attention. Specials, come over here. I'm going to do this a little point. Go ahead and face.
Already. Does that look good to you, John? Yep. Stick with you? All right.
I'm trying not to block.
And we'll come to parade rest. So, parade rest.
Okay,
you guys
do
that.
that.
Yep. And then we'll just close
I will
the parade
issue
rest.
that and present it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What unit is that, John?
Oh, do you?
That's awesome. I smelled them once when I was
The early, let's see, the early sabers with
Now you all have been volunteers. We have spare bayonets,
They're going to post
and we're going to set you at the top of the hill, and then we're going to charge.
So we'll just stay at parade rest until we come to attention.
Sounds
right?
great.
So
Because everybody's sort of standing.
or
Basically,
stab. National anthem, whatever. We'll come to attention, and then Captain Catfield will call present arms, and then you guys just do that, right?
I need to find out.
If not, it's fine. We can just go from the flags.
Well, let me check and see what the other guys say.
The event doesn't start today.
And then I go up, right?
We still got
I go up,
When
right? Because the U.S. flag.
do you
Do you have any way to I guess U.S. flag to name
present colors, should
John, have you got
what's the
any
command that you'll
round?
give? Because they have a
Okay.
That's all you need, right?
In theory.
present arms.
It's the same thing with your
walk down the hill.
Do you have any rounds with you?
You bring it up to attention. That's how you do that. Well,
And then
Yes, you do.
flat taps.
I
Okay.
have to clean my gun. I'm not quite sure.
I don't think so.
Okay, so no rifle vault. That's fine.
That's what we're doing.
Oh, well, that might be awkward. Maybe you should go around the corner and cap off and see if it will.
Oh, see, I didn't think they did.
Jim, do you have any rounds with you?
Guys are
Anything to add?
Okay.
just a color guard.
Because maybe we're going to be firing a volley to.
So when we're
Yeah.
but your musket. You have an introduction like that.
What about it? It should work.
Get dirty.
I don't care. I'll clean it when I get home. Yeah, no, I understand.
So the gentleman we just saw is one of the 7th Wisconsin Infantry reenactors based here in Washington. And they go around and they reenact the 7th Infantry Division of the Civil War. Ladies and gentlemen, you see in the background.
Hey, John,
the
are we
Washington
going
State
to load in
Honor
9?
Guards.
Huh?
And they are part of the Washington State Guard. Washington State is one of only 22 states in the Constitution. That has it in the United States that has it built in their Constitution. That they are allowed to have a state guard, which is directly and only controlled by the government.
We can't shoot.
But the difference with them is a lot of them are volunteers, and they're not usually paid.
Aaron, come on up here.
I mean, I guess I could
Are
say
volunteers.
that, but I think after tap.
So we're only a few minutes away.
Aaron,
Thank you all
you're
for joining.
finally in a uniform that fits you.
You'll hear a lot of noise, but pretty soon we'll get started.
Go, Jim. You went on the first. How you doing, bud? Huh? Good to see you.
That would normally go 4 taps. So it'd be
Is that a percussion cap?
when I get the
No.
after the colors are posted on this one. I'll give the command present arms.
Is that what that is?
Volley fire. Bugler immediately when you're done. Bugler immediately starts taps, and we hold the present arms for that duration.
We'll follow
Then
you.
order arms.
You bet.
Then I'll.
That will fit my car.
When do we go drinking?
Well, let's see. Not until at least 8 o'clock. Pretty much.
I should be gone by then.
Okay, so we're going to probably move facing this direction and then
I've got
about
about 4 hours.
however you want us to do it.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do?
the bugler is uphill a bit, which I think is a nice, and so wherever you want to be, but I'd just make sure it doesn't fall over. No higher. Oh no, we're talking no lower than this point. Just make sure it doesn't fall over, and we're good.
When are you going to go?
When I've seen,
Say again?
yeah, when I've seen,
That's great. It's more important that people are able to see it than anything else.
Right, okay, well, we can be up there beside him.
are you doing like a single?
We have enough rounds to do.
Oh,
Where can I put these?
you have to reload it.
Well, we can get two shots like every minute.
Whatever you would prefer to do. One ball.
That way it doesn't take as much time.
You have 7.
No, we only have 3, so we have to do it 7
Yeah, you can
minutes.
do that. Yeah, one volley.
Yes, sir. Coffee, and then just go back to this.
Oh, you already got it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Looks great.
I think we won't worry. I'm not going to have to worry about cleaning it. We're not going to touch it all yet. So. We can only get 2 guns off. I don't see a point in firing a cap and then having to clean the thing.
It's okay here.
How's the left side?
I do.
Still landing.
Yeah. get you. Especially. Yeah, thank you. This group, yes.
If you want to fall in.
Okay.
They wouldn't let you wear your sword that you
Excellent.
today.
Okay, so. Okay. You guys in uniform here are going to be up in the same line as Bernie up there. Bugler. Right, and we're going to when they stretch it out. What's the modern command for present arms? Oh, well, that's good then. I think that we can do that. Yes. Okay. Hey, could you do me a favor and put these on where they belong up here? Well, Alice can do it.
That's been on my mind a lot. So I'll have them post and I can put it up there where they're going to go. Yeah, get started.
Yeah, we're ready. Okay.
Let me be your guys' way over here.
You will be, yes. We're going to walk right up here.
Yep, whenever you guys are ready to wind up and set here. Thanks again.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Awkwardness is through. I haven't done this before.
This is actually my best.
Okay, why don't you go up there, Jim?
So they said no.
Oh, they're not going to do volley. So no volley?
No volley.
No volley. We can only provide 2 rifles that'll fire right now, and so.
So,
My name is Glenn.
Glenn Allen. And what would your rank be?
Major.
Major, okay. Major Allison. So I am going to give a brief introductory stick. I'm going to invite you to do the same for the reenactment group, so that people know.
They represent the 7th Wisconsin. That's what we reenact.
Perfect. And you could also explain that we are one of your soldiers is carrying the regimental flag.
Yes.
With
Okay.
our color guard.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Let them know.
And we can post directly across from my 2 soldiers.
Okay. Wherever you want.
And they will turn to face the ground.
Yes, certainly. No sword or anything. What's wrong with you?
I do not have a ceremonial sword, especially today.
It would, but you know what?
It's the real practical.
Yes, indeed they are.
So welcome everyone. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Can you sound okay up there on the hill? All right. Well, thanks for coming. My name is Richard. I am the founder of Seattle's Civil War Legacy. I helped spearhead the effort to get this headstone. And I want to thank every single one of you for coming out today to help honor the Civil War veteran, Captain John Marshall Hoyt. I'm just going to say a couple words. We are streaming this live through a couple different Facebook pages. So we have people from Wisconsin and those who just couldn't be here in person today to watch. So before we get into this, I just want to, I did, like I said, spearhead the effort for this, but it was not by any means a one-man project. So I really want to take a moment to thank a couple people, in addition to all the folks that are here today, for their help in this effort. Namely, and again, this is for the people in Wisconsin that are watching, Gina Redant, who is the curator of collections at the Civil War Museum in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the Seattle City Archives staff, the Seattle Public Library, Lakeview Cemetery, Melanie Myers here at Mount Pleasant, all for their assistance with locating records and tracking down documents and all the things that were required for a quite difficult process to get this headstone. But most importantly, I want to make an extra special point of acknowledging the Milwaukee Civil War Roundtable and the Iron Brigade Association for their tremendous support. Fundraising for this was a challenge in the beginning, and they stepped up to support one of their own sons of Wisconsin being recognized for his Civil War service. Made a generous financial donation to see that this happened. So I wanted to be sure that they know. I think a number of them are watching here from Wisconsin today. So with that, again, thank you all for coming, and we're going to start. I'm going to let Captain Carl Chatfield from the Washington State Guard get us going. And again, thanks for coming, and thanks for watching, all of those that are virtual online. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to begin by introducing Major Allison with the reenactment group to introduce his organization. Thanks for everybody coming out. It's great. We represent the 7th Wisconsin in the reenacting community here in the Pacific Northwest. So several of us are up the hill to your left for those of you I'm facing. And we also have one of our soldiers who is carrying the regimental colors as they march up with the other two flags. Thank you. My soldiers are with the Washington State Guard. We are an all-volunteer organization. We augment the Washington Air and Army National Guard on a variety of missions, including cybersecurity, disaster response, wildfire response, and other functions focused on public health and safety. All residents of the state of Washington up to age 64 may be eligible to join the State Guard, and if you would like to know more about it, you can talk to one of my soldiers or myself after the event. I want to talk about flag decorum, because we will be posting the colors here. I will issue a command for the color guard to begin their movement. They will march up the hill here to the gravesite. During that time, I will issue a command, present arms. If you are a civilian, we ask that you remove your cap, your hat, and the normal way you would hold it would be in your right hand, and then place your right hand over your heart. If you are a veteran, you have earned the right to salute the flag for the rest of your life, and you may render a salute. If you are in uniform, you will render a salute. I will then issue the command, order arms, and then you could return to a comfortable position. So let's take a position. Where we were. Right here's good. Color Sergeant. Sir. Post. Colors. Group. Present. Arms. Order. Arms.
So today we're here to remember the service, Civil War service, and history and legacy of Captain John Marshall Hoyt. John Marshall Hoyt was born in 1837 in New Hampshire, but with the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, he was a resident of Wisconsin. And in August of that year, just after the outbreak of the Civil War, he enlisted as a corporal in what would become Company K of the 7th Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry. The 7th itself would go on to form part of the nucleus of what has become known to history as the Iron Brigade, which is arguably the most famous fighting organization of the entire Civil War. In August of 1862, the Iron Brigade and the 7th and Corporal Hoyt saw their first action in battle at the Battle of Bronner's Farm in Virginia. And it was at that battle that they established their reputation for particular tenacity and courage under fire, which would stick with them through their entire service of the war and on through history since. And a month after that first battle, they fought at the Battle of South Mountain, which was in Maryland, in September of 1862. And that's where they were given that name of the Iron Brigade, which has become so etched in our history because of once again displaying that trademark tenacity and hard fighting of those troops from the western states of Wisconsin and Indiana and a little bit later Michigan. And in that fight, that evening, as the Iron Brigade ascended the slopes of South Mountain, attacking Confederate forces in Turner's Gap, Corporal Hoyt was wounded in action. He was struck with a Confederate bullet. He would soon return to service, however, and he would go on to fight in battles, famous battles such as Antietam and Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, and he would continue to earn promotion to sergeant and first sergeant, and eventually that fateful July 1st of 1863 at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. In the spring of 1864, Sergeant Hoyt and the 7th would fight at the Battle of the Wilderness. This is a battle known for its particular chaos and violence, and the 7th suffered the highest percentage of casualties and killed and wounded of any regiment to take part in that battle in the Union Army. And among those was once again Sergeant John Marshall Hoyt, struck for the second time by a Confederate bullet, wounded much more severely. But after several months of recovery, he would once again return to the front lines of combat, now in the siege lines around Petersburg, Virginia. And he would continue to be promoted and continue to fight on to become a lieutenant and then a captain, and he would lead Company K at the battles of Gravelly Run and Five Forks and Appomattox, and finally the surrender of General Lee's Confederate Army at Appomattox Courthouse in April of 1865. Later that year, he mustered out of service and returned home to Wisconsin, and in 1866 married his wife Mary, who was actually buried beside him here in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. And in the decades that followed the war, they raised their family and they slowly made their way westward, first to Nebraska, then on to Montana, and eventually here to Seattle, where in November of 1923, Captain John Marshall Hoyt passed away. And his funeral was held right here, the Butterworth Funeral Home. You may pass that building as you entered the cemetery today. And he was buried by his Grand Army of the Republic comrades, fellow veterans of the Union Army, in the GAR Cemetery on Capitol Hill. But just a few months later, his wife Mary passed away, and their son purchased this plot here in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery so his parents could be buried together, side by side, as they had been for decades and decades after the Civil War. So Captain Hoyt was removed from the GAR Cemetery and brought here to be buried beside his beloved wife Mary. And since that time, since the spring of 1924, some 97 years, he'd remained in this grave, unmarked, somewhat anonymous, perhaps even neglected by history, you could say, until this year when we were able to obtain this federal veterans headstone in recognition of his service to the United States military. And I think I'd like to conclude my comments here with a part of a speech by another of Seattle's Civil War veterans, Colonel Lyman Knapp, fellow Army of the Potomac Union veteran, also multiple times wounded in combat, also buried here in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. And on Memorial Day of 1898, he gave this speech to a gathering of hundreds of Seattle Civil War veterans and their families who had gathered in observance of that day. And I think what we're doing here today as we come together to continue to remember these Civil War veterans and their service and their role in the history of our country, it mirrors what the veterans themselves were doing here in Seattle in 1898 on that Memorial Day, and every Memorial Day, as they remembered their comrades who had fallen on the field of battle and who had fallen in the decades since. And Colonel Lyman Knapp said this in 1898: "Let us recall those who have made their breast a barricade between our country and its foes. Let us recall their toils, their suffering, their heroism, their supreme fidelity in the camp, in the prison pen, on the battlefield, and in the hospital. That flag under which they fought, and under the shadow of whose folds they were promoted, may never be dishonored. That the country for whose union and supremacy they surrendered life may have the fervent and enthusiastic devotion of every citizen. That as we stand by every grave as before an altar, may we pledge that the memory of our dead may encourage and strengthen in us a more loyal patriotism. That's Colonel Lyman Knapp in 1898, right here in Seattle. So I'm going to turn it over now to my friend and colleague Evan Muxon for some thoughts and a statement that was sent in today by the Wisconsin Veterans Museum on behalf of this occasion. Thank you.
As you heard Richard say, my name is Evan Muxon. I'm currently the 446 Airlift Wing Historian based out of Joint Base Lewis McChord. I'm also a 12-year combat veteran of the United States Army. And so when he approached me about this, it's very near and dear to me that all veterans have the ability to be remembered. Whether small or large as this, their service is what has preserved the ideals our country has been founded upon since 1774. What you'll notice on his marker and on many, many veteran markers, you'll see coins. Those coins represent something. The penny itself represents that you respect the service that that individual gave as a part of their life to put down their livelihood and go do something greater than themselves. If you see a nickel on a grave, what that means is they served with that person in training, either in a unit or in basic training usually. If you see a dime, that person means that they were in that unit with them. That they served with them, whether it's in the 10th Mountain Division or 4th Infantry Division, or in this case, 7th Wisconsin. And if you should by chance see a quarter, that means whoever laid that quarter down was with that veteran when that veteran died, whether on the battlefield or in a hospital bed or somewhere else. So those coins are remembrance of those veterans. The history of them goes back, and some people think it has to do with Greek times, where you would put 2 coins in the eyes to pay the ferryman. Others think it's a down deposit that was brought over from the Vietnam War era of a drink on me later. But either way, it's a veteran remembering the sacrifice of another veteran. So with that said, the following statement is from the director of the Wisconsin Veterans Museum, Christopher L. Kolokowski. I said that wrong. I apologize, Mr. Thank you for the opportunity to send a few comments on this great occasion. Although I cannot be there in person, it is necessary to remark upon this deserving recognition of Captain Hoyt. The Wisconsin Veterans Museum is charged with preserving, interpreting, and affirming the service of Wisconsinites from 1861 to present. Civil War veterans like Hoyt started our collections in the state's capital, Grand Army of the Republic, Memorial Hall in 1901. Today we are the proud custodians of thousands of artifacts, books, photos, and other materials related to Badger veterans from the Civil War and beyond, including the Iron Brigade, for which he was a part of. A centerpiece of our collection is the Wisconsin Civil War battle flags, including ones from the 7th Wisconsin he served under in the regiment's battles from 1861 to 1865. It is important to document and mark veterans' service and post-war lives, and it is wonderful that we can be here today to do this. Many people, in fact, don't realize that many Civil War veterans moved west after the war. Members of Captain Hoyt's generation preserved the Union, made the United States a continental power, and won world power status before departing from the scene. Their contributions to American history deserve to be remembered. Since ancient times, it has been held that someone is not truly dead until their name or story is forgotten. By marking and preserving his grave, we are ensuring that Captain Hoyt lives on for generations to come. Thank you for your support in this effort. On behalf of the Wisconsin Civil War veteran, on Wisconsin, sincerely, Christopher L. Kolokowski, Director, Wisconsin Veterans Museum.
We'll conclude the event today with a rendering of taps by a bugler from the 7th Infantry reenactment group, and then we will retire the colors. After taps, we'll observe a moment of silence, and then retire the colors. I will issue the same commands. Present arms and order arms. I ask that you observe the same decorum as we described earlier. Group. Present arms. event today, we will now retire the colors. Present arms. Order! Arms! Headies.
Okay, with that, I just want to once again thank you all for coming out, for helping us remember the incredible service rendered to the United States by Captain John Marshall Hoyt in the Civil War. Thank you.
Detail. Attention. Now, please.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for doing it.